One rainy day, when my father was 6 years old, he fell severely ill. My grandparents could not afford to pay for medicine, and eventually his illness got the better of him, which led to his world going silent. This is the odyssey of my father, a deaf man. As I was growing up, I could sense my dad really doing his best to communicate with his children and understanding what he had to accomplish at work while living with this disability. I too had difficulty trying to talk to my father, as I knew little sign language and had to communicate through a hearing person just to get basic things done at home, like asking me to enunciate words verbally to better understand my needs.
If they can sign, then it's possible. I sometimes lip read as well, but the difficulty comes when they do it in long sentences.
At 8 years old, my father went to the school for the deaf. He had to learn sign language and lip reading, a skill that is difficult to adapt to. Using English as his primary form of language, he had to translate each word in his head and keep up with what was taught. At the age of 15, he went to the vocational school for the handicapped to learn skills like welding, electrical wiring, and woodworks. From the skills he had learned from VSH, my dad would teach and entrust me with domestic chores like changing the light bulbs, hammering nails, and hanging decorations around the house. When I was younger, he would share his stories about his time in Europe and wanting to further his artistry on welding and woodworks in a continent known for its artistic endeavors and technological advances. He saved whatever scraps of cash he could from his work and eventually embarked on the journey of his dreams. After spending some time in Holland, he decided to move to England and work for a painting company to build wooden frames, basking in the ambience of the streets of London, admiring its architecture.
So life then was less stressful, less tiring, and I didn't really feel tired even though I was working there as well. So there were a lot of opportunities to visit different places, and that made it more enjoyable.
The love for Europe grew in him year after year, but family commitments forced him to return home, a dutiful son leaving his dreams behind. He went back to the Association for the Deaf to reforge bonds with old friends, but instead met someone that ignited a new dream within my father. This is my mom. When she was born, she never once heard the sounds of nature or the bustling ambience of crowded streets. As both my parents are unhearing, they had concerns about whether their children might be born deaf. Fortunately for us, we were completely fine with no defects. But now my parents have to raise hearing children as deaf adults.
When I try to teach my children, they are also not really listening. I guess it's a communication issue. Well, I had to be patient until they could communicate with me.
Having 2 kids, they must now navigate life as deaf partners, nurturing both children to the best of their abilities.
At age or just a few months old, my sister-in-law would help to take care of the baby for about 3 months. But the sister-in-law was unable to cope.
My father then turned to my Aunt Amy because he had to work long hours and was unable to properly care for us. My Aunt Amy agreed to take care of both my sister and I during the weekdays. I remember a time where I did not see my dad often, as he used to work very long hours. Whenever I see him, he always looked very exhausted, working from dawn till dusk. Long hours of work is just the tip of his problems. He was being taken advantage of at work, and co-workers gossiping about him due to his disability.
Hey, this person is deaf. And they will say, oh, come here. It would be assigned work that would be much more complex, a larger structure, a larger matter to work on, as my supervisors will instruct me to do so, whereas other people will be assigned simpler, less complex work.
My father was pushed to work so much, he just became really fatigued. One day, my father had an accident at work, which required surgery. After months in recovery, he went back to his old company to get a claim on his injuries, but the company said that what happened did not meet the clause under his contract. My father felt manipulated, all of this to protect their profits.
It was stressful. It was tiring on the side of work.
My father's silent perseverance is what carried the family through the hardships. But deep down, do my parents feel the cards they were dealt with were unfair?
The deaf are unable to hear, so it's like for work, you can't hear, you can't communicate, you can't understand what's wrong, what are the problems. The hearing can just speak through the phone, and it can very easily explain certain concepts.
With all of his sacrifices putting his children on a pedestal, his old dream now lives within my sister all the way in Europe, where his happiest days were spent. The stories our father shared with us about his time in Europe and the stories we read as children inspired her. The rise of social media exposed her to the wonders of what that continent had to offer. The urge to explore fueled her ambition to travel there, and she decided to stay as she found her dream, experiencing her first winter and the rush of excitement feeling the cold winter air. Now, knowing a piece of his dream lives on, he is content, inspiring her to carry on his legacy. Growing up with non-hearing parents, their actions spoke louder than words. They showed us love in the only way they could. This story is to honor my father, mother, and all deaf parents, sharing the same struggles and foregoing their dreams so that their children can live a better life.
you.